Hello and welcome back to the Organizedpreneur Podcast Launch Pad. And this is where we explore all things podcasting, organizing, and entrepreneurial growth. You are probably tired of me talking about consistency, but I just felt so inspired and motivated and compelled to talk about it based on something I was listening to by Priscilla Shirer. And so I've posted the link in there, the motivational video that I was watching where she was talking about the power of consistency. And so today we're going to talk about consistency as a covenant. Consistency as a covenant and strategies to break free from the start-stop cycle in podcasting.
In the podcast jungle with a mic to machete, Aldreama, Harper, she ready and steady. Organized planner with a plan, never petty. Dropping gems, got my thoughts feeling heavy. Podcast launch pad where the dreams take flight. Entrepreneurial spirit out of sight, out of mind. Every episode, knowledge taking flight. Getting organized, keep it hustle tight. All dreamers got the wisdom, breaking it down. Clarity and chaos, wearing that crown. Growth for your biz, success all around. In the podcast world, she's renowned. Infused with hustlers, grinding the gears. Trailblazers speaking, no fear, no tears. Each story told, driving through the years. Future brighter than the stars, crystal clear. Mic check, she's speaking bold. Organizing dreams, let the stories unfold. Startup grind, worth more than gold. All dreamers roadmap, mission control. All dreamers got the wisdom, breaking it down. Clarity and chaos, wearing that crown. Growth for your biz, success all around. In the podcast world, she's renowned.
This is so prevalent among podcasters, including myself. Back in 2013, it was a start, stop, inconsistent kind of thing. I didn't do it every day. I just felt like I would do it. I would record an episode when I felt like it. And so as a result, there were only and are still only 12 episodes in that podcast. But today, we're going to dive deeper into those practical strategies that help us to break free, from the cycle of starting and stopping. Aren't you tired of that? That's why we're talking about this today. Because as I said before, consistency is more than a habit. It's a covenant. It's a covenant with your future self and a partnership with God. And so let's look at what it means to commit to something deeply, embrace the journey, and see each step forward as part of God's purpose for our lives. Okay, so let's start with step one. So we're going to cover actually 5 steps. We talked a little bit about it in the previous episode, but we want to dive a little bit deeper. And so the first step is setting your intentions and preparing for success. One of the most powerful steps to stay consistent is pre-decision. Pre-decision, which means you've decided in advance what your steps will be, and you're ready with the resources before you even need them, right? And what does that look like? That means you're already set up. You already have your script, your notes. You already have decided. And decided or decision means to cut off all other options. So it is not an option as to whether or not you're going to record on a certain day, at a certain time, or what have you. Whatever you have decided that works with your schedule, right? And so you have decided in advance what your steps will be, and you're ready with your resources, before you even need them. Think of Nehemiah, for example, rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Before he began the work, he had a clear plan, and he prayed and fasted in preparation. By deciding in advance, he was able to face the challenges with resolve, right? And so he had a clear plan. And I don't know about you, from an organizing perspective, which is something that, I've taught over the years as a professional organizer, as a productivity coach and consultant, is to be prepared. I know for me, before I can even start a project or whatever, I have to write it out. I have to know what steps I'm going to take, particularly if it's something that is maybe a project or what have you. I have to break those down into manageable pieces. And so, because it will help me to better capture the plan, but not only the plan, it helps me to better, I guess, realize, for lack of better terms, how long it's going to take, what resources am I going to need, right? If it's another platform, or if it's a book or something or resource that I need to read prior to that, or what have you. It helps me to, by breaking everything down, to be more prepared for whatever endeavor I'm about to engage in, right? A lot of people sometimes they wonder why they're procrastinating about a certain thing. Well, sometimes it's about you don't have a clear plan, right? And so for podcasting, this means setting specific recording days, blocking out times for editing, and even having a list of the topic that you're going to talk about, the bullet points, the script, all of those things. When we plan ahead, we're showing God that we're committed and we're setting ourselves up for success, right? And so pre-decision and setting your intentions and preparing for success is the first step. The next step is minimum viable consistency and starting small to build momentum. Starting small. When I have taught decluttering over the years, I've taught people how to declutter their spaces, how to declutter their offices. You start small. Maybe you start with a drawer. Maybe you start with a small area in the room, right? What it means by starting small and building momentum, because when you start small, like that drawer or like that small area in your space that you're about to tackle, most of the time you're going to start to build momentum because you can see yourself making progress, right? And so it's what I call minimum viable consistency. So rather than committing to more than one or more than what we can sustain, we have to start small and build momentum. So what that means in podcasting, you start small, okay? And you build momentum and you start to be consistent. The only reason I'm able to do this on the regular is because I started small. Set yourself up for failure by trying to do or tackle all of those things at once, because what that produces is overwhelm, right? So a friend of mine wanted to start a podcast but felt overwhelmed. And so what I advised her to do was start with monthly episodes as opposed to weekly episodes or daily episodes. And it keeps it manageable, right? And so as you grow and you get comfortable, you're able to increase your frequency. And so what happens is that consistency builds trust in yourself and with your audience, no matter what the volume is, no matter if you're doing it on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, bi-weekly, what have you. Consistency builds trust in yourself. It also builds confidence. The more confident you are, the more you're going to show up. You're going to be sure about your topic, and all of that shows up it shows up on your in your episodes and in your podcasting endeavors, because that's what we're talking about, right? And so again, starting small to build momentum is the key. So that was number 2. Number 3, sacred sequences. We talked about that, and establishing rituals for success. A sacred sequence is a personal routine that sets you up for success. So I have part of my routine is when I'm about to have a client, or when I'm about to talk with a client, or when I'm even definitely when I'm starting my day, um, I have prayer, right? And so when I'm starting a session, like, my 5-day challenges or what have you, I pray prior to those sessions. I just spend a few minutes in prayer and inviting God's presence. And it really transformed my mindset from work to service. And when it does, I show up differently. I'm not dreading to do this because I'm here to serve. So that transformed my mindset, right? So think about a small action you could do to start each session, whether it's listening to worship music, taking a deep breath, writing a short prayer, or just finding a sacred sequence that brings you peace and focus. So that's number 3. Number 4, accountability and the consistency council. So consistency isn't a solo mission. You don't do it you don't have to do it by yourself. You can try, but it's not advisable that you do it by yourself, right? And so Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. When we have a support system, or what I call the consistency council, we're stronger, right? Think about that when you are on your fitness journey. I can tell you one of the things that helps me to stay consistent and accountable is me sending a text message to my friends, or sending with a picture or a short video that I'm walking or running or whatever. Well, I'm not running, but I'm primarily walking. I'm doing my power walk. And so when I do that, and it's helping me to develop a consistency council, and so it makes me stronger. And so I invite you to join, or invite someone to join you in accountability. Share your goals, check in with each other, and celebrate the small wins. When you know someone is counting on you to keep going, it is easier to stay the course. Okay? And then lastly, divine download, seeking God's guidance in your message. When I was just sharing with you about the fact that I have part of my routine, particularly when I'm doing my 5-day challenge every day, whether somebody shows up or not, right? Doesn't matter, because there are days when nobody shows up, like on the 3rd day or the 4th day or what have you. But that's okay. But I take time to ask God what He wants me to share in my podcast or on that training. And so I invite you to do the same. Ask Him, what do you want Him, or what do you want Him to, ask Him each day. Take the time to ask God what He wants you to share in your podcast. The simple act of seeking Him keeps you grounded in his purpose, and it helps to fuel your passion for the work. It helps you to fuel the passion so that you're ready to serve, right? Sometimes the message God gives you might surprise you. Like, I've recorded episodes that I didn't even plan. Like this, and as a matter of fact, these two episodes, the previous one and this one, these were not episodes that I planned, right? But sometimes, that will happen. You don't, perhaps you hadn't planned on sharing a particular episode, only to hear from a listener that it was exactly what they needed. And so you keep in mind, remember that podcasting is not just about content, it's about obedience and allowing God to work through you, right? So let me just recap that. These are the steps for cultivating consistency. Number one, pre-decision. Plan ahead for your success. Number two, minimum viable consistency. Start out small to build trust and clarity and confidence. Number three, sacred sequences. Establish routines that set you up for success. And then number four, accountability. Find a support system to help you stay on track. And lastly, number five, divine download. Seek God's guidance for each message. Consistency is a covenant. And when you commit to showing up in faith, God meets you there. And he uses your voice to inspire and transform lives. And podcasting is an incredible way to build that legacy. Remember that each episode is not just another task, it is a step of faith and a seed planted in God's field. So I'm so very thankful for you tuning into this episode. And I really look forward to seeing the amazing ways that God uses your voice to bring his message of hope and transformation and impact in the lives of other people, right? And so don't forget, shameless plug as always, to register for the next Ready, Set, Launch My Podcast 5-day challenge. This is where you get a comprehensive roadmap to launch your podcast in 5 days. The link will be in the show notes. Also, if you want to launch in a day, that link will also be in the show notes where you can book your success strategy call. And so as I close, I want to share the scripture of Proverbs 27:17, and it says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep creating, keep connecting, and remember your voice can make an impact. Have an amazing day.